You can also now watch Packard Pokes At on Atheism TV at youtube.com/atheismtv and, as always, on youtube.com/Packard Pokes At. Come to the live show and chat with us on Friday nights at 9 p.m. Central Time on vonlive.tv/Packard Pokes At. See you there!
Do you really like Packard Pokes At and want to promote the show? Then go to cafepress.com/Packard Pokes At. There are hundreds of items available, including hats, shirts, hoodies, and so much more. Every purchase from cafepress.com/Packard Pokes At helps support the show. Your Packard Pokes At coffee mug is waiting for you.
Do you want to stream Packard Pokes At on your iPhone or BlackBerry? Download Stitcher free today at Stitcher.com. Stitcher Smart Radio, the smarter way to listen to radio.
You're on in 3, 2, 1.
This is Packard Pokes At, and I'm poking at your news. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another fine edition of Packard Pokes At. I am your immutable and unmutable host, Packard Sonic. And joining us tonight from the far coast of Michigan, somewhere in Detroit, and holed up in his apartment someplace, is Dave. You're damned.
Stop talking me up, buddy. I'm fine.
Oh, good. Last time, Joe was worried about you having bars on your windows and all that.
Well, I live in Detroit, so it's a feasible situation.
Yes. Well, we have bars here in Wisconsin, but those ones you get drinks at. Anyway, and also joining us tonight, over from the far west coast, is Connie Practical Magic 9.
The fun has arrived. Hi there.
I like it. All right, well, we have another short show episode for you tonight, so let's go into our first topic for this evening.
Building a better future, science and technology.
In the news lately, you've been hearing a lot about drones and remote-controlled aircraft. Now the United States has an F-16 out there that's out flying around without a pilot. Boeing said that they basically took an F-16 and they made it all remote-controlled. Now they've been able to fly this thing, maintained up to a flight up to 7 Gs of acceleration, but it's capable of maneuvers up to 9 Gs. Now, 9 Gs for a human pilot could probably cause them to black out or whatever. Some people can't handle anything more than 2 or 3 Gs. Dave, your thoughts?
7 Gs is about where a human can be at.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas 9 Gs is where we have that discrepancy where humans probably cannot withstand that.
Right.
Here's my question. It's an F-16 that is being controlled remotely, correct?
Right. As far as I can tell, it's being remotely controlled.
What's the difference between that and a drone?
I think the difference here is that because of the drones in the past, they didn't carry large arsenals of weapons on them. A F-16 can carry much larger bombs and things like that, of that nature.
Well, I think it's distinctly, like, it's pertinent, and that the F-16 being able to do what it does is important. And being able to be remotely controlled is important. But still, it's defined as a drone.
Right.
Correct?
At this point, I think it's still defined as a drone. It says they've renamed the F-16, though, as a QF-16. I don't know where they get the letters for all this stuff, but it's kind of interesting.
I just think it's nothing different than a drone. I think it's the same thing. I mean, I think that an F-16 that does that, I mean, it's a sophisticated drone.
Well, yeah, it's a much bigger drone in this case. When I see stuff like this with big airplanes that are being remote controlled,
it's pertinent, but at the same time, it's still just a drone.
Right, but I'm saying is that the fact is planes of this size being remotely controlled because they are able to carry the armaments that they can do. I can see a lot of possibilities here. Let's say a pilot goes into combat. Instead of just taking just multiple planes with him, with multiple pilots, let's just say you have just one person that's in charge that's remotely controlling all these planes. This way, if some of the planes get knocked down, no big deal because at least one pilot is still going to get through. Connie, your thoughts?
Well, first of all, the main use that these jets are supposed to, and there's 6 of them. Mm-hmm. They have 6 of them
so far.
Is supposed to be for target practice, basically. So, in other words, Jester from the movie Top Gun would be out of a job. so that they're out there battling with an unmanned plane.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they say it's for, and I understand that. Also, they have a self-destruct button on them.
Yes.
So in case anything goes wrong. So I'm not aware whether Dr. Doofenshmirtz from Phineas and Ferb is aware of that, if he made that. But and if anybody watches the show, they get that. Otherwise, it was a totally lost joke. I looked up what 9Gs are. I said, well, what is 9Gs? What would that be on a human body? And there was an F-15 pilot who actually answered this question. And I didn't source it, but he says that at 9Gs, his body, he weighs 165 pounds. His body would weigh 1,485 pounds. His head and helmet alone would weigh 150 pounds. So it's something that he can do, but it is extremely taxing on a person's body.
Wow.
And it takes a lot of training, evidently, to get to that point. And not everybody can do it, obviously.
Yeah.
Like I said, they already have 6 of these.
So the difference is 7Gs is accepted, 9Gs is not.
Well, evidently at that point it started. I don't know the math on it, but it sounds like it does start to get rather exponentially
more difficult. Yeah.
But again, according to the Air Force, according to the people, they say that this is all they're using it for is just to train test pilots. But the fact is, you have this thing that could be manned remotely, and Noel Sharkey, who is chairs the Committee for Robots and Arms Control. It's an NGO, and he's a professor at Sheffield. Actually, I read some of his articles just a few weeks ago when we were talking about driverless cars.
Right.
About having, and so he's like, that's good, but this is what he worries about. He worries about, he's anti-tech when robots can be possibly armed with weapons.
Yes.
And that is the problem, is this technology, if it's used for this, to be able to train pilots, but again, what are pilots doing? This is about combat. And it does get kind of unnerving when you think about taking the human equation out of things.
Yeah.
I said in our meeting, why is it that I got really excited about, robotic cars, even though there's chances that it could go wrong. But when you talk about planes, like weaponized planes, then I start to get nervous. It reminded me immediately of the movie Stealth, which came out in 2005, and that was about a fully automated AI computer plane and how everything went wrong. It just kind of went rogue. And
Terminator movie.
My husband was just reminding me it was a lightning strike on the plane, and all of a sudden, of course, science fiction. It's just a science fiction movie, but it plays into it doesn't play into our fears.
Going to the moon at one time was a science fiction movie too.
Yeah.
So we did that.
Anyway, I think it's interesting, but it does make me. I'm feeling rather nervous about it. I go, well, I just don't think that that's the only way they're going to use it.
Oh,
and
yeah.
war is already dehumanizing.
Right. Yeah. If the government is good at one thing, if they use something, they're going to overuse it, and there's lots of examples of that. But anyway, speaking of getting overused, let's go to our next topic for this evening.
Well, I'm not the brightest crayon in the box.
Out in Milwaukee, there is a man, he thought, well, I'm just going to score some drugs. Instead of breaking into someone's house, he tried to break into a dog shelter. I suppose they have some sort of drugs. I don't know what kind of drugs you take for dogs that you could take for anybody else. But instead of trying to go through a window or a door, like most people would do, he climbed up onto the roof, found a ventilation shaft, stripped down all his clothes, and then climbed inside. Well, in the process of while he was doing this, he came to one point of the ventilation shaft. It came too narrow for him to get into, so he turned around, but he missed his way out, and he fell down a big shaft. Fell straight down in the dark, and he was hanging there naked, upside down, for about 8 to 10 hours, I believe, from what it says here in the report. Dave, your thoughts?
So he broke into a veterinary clinic.
Yep. Small animal hospital.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that. It's a small animal hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was so small, he fucked up.
Yeah.
If it was a big animal hospital, he may have been able to get through there without getting stuck.
Oh, you're the big doggy door. Yeah. It wasn't a cat they had in the walls. It was a cat burglar.
He stripped off his clothes in order to not get caught.
Yeah, I was just going to say that apparently, according to the police, they said that this is not uncommon, that some criminals will, when they try to go through pipes and whatnot, they will remove their clothing, so they will not catch their clothing on screws and whatnot inside the pipes there.
And he was told afterwards that the drugs he was trying to steal were probably not great to steal.
Right, exactly. Connie, your thoughts?
Well, usually when you make a rogue in D&D, they have pretty good stats.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I obviously rolled really low. And exactly, the drugs that he was looking to steal probably would have killed him.
Yeah.
I know I've heard of this kind of thing before. The other thing I was going to say, he watched Die Hard too many times. Why is it in every movie? People think that it's okay to crawl in and out through the ducting, even going back to old Star Trek.
They did
shows.
that. They also
crawl through the ducting.
They also did that in Jurassic Park too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Tenacious D movie.
Yeah, there's a lot of movies that we'll just climb through the ductwork.
Speaking of which, John McClane had a white T-shirt, white wife beater when he crawled in, and he had a black one when he crawled out.
Yes.
No, I don't get it. I look at the hole that he cut.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming or was that the hole that they cut to get him out?
I think that's probably the one they called. I'm looking at the vent here. It looks like it's the one he cut out to get him out of it.
I'm sorry. I just look at that and think about being naked and trying to crawl in a hole you cut in venting, and that's like some nasty sheet metal. I go.
Oh, yeah.
Give yourself a circumcision.
Oh, yeah. There was a comment in there that says, yeah, it's to get your clothes caught in is one thing, but, get caught in your scrotum or something because everything, your junk and everything's hanging out. Man, if you're going to be digging through a vent or something, at least wear your undies or at least an athletic supporter. Come on now.
If you can't be an athlete, be an athletic supporter.
Well, yeah, true.
Yes.
But I mean, or at least a nut cup or some sort. Like I wouldn't go through it otherwise. Yikes.
No, the stupidity of humankind is never ceases to amaze me.
Yeah, and the thing is, he's 6 feet tall and 160 pounds. I mean, what does he think he was gonna do? Criminy.
He was a pretzel.
Yeah, no crap, no shit, no shit. Well, at least it didn't have to wait there. Oh, if he said he went in there on Sunday night and they opened on Monday morning. If he had gone in there on a Saturday night and he could have been hanging out there all weekend, he would have probably died hanging upside down. Because if you hang upside down too long, I think you die after a while. I would think.
Well, that was a burglary that really gave him the shaft, though. In the end.
Oh, Connie, that was great.
Okay.
All right.
That's all I have to say about that.
All right. Very good. Very good. All right. Let's get on to our next topic for this evening. And tonight we're going to finalize our logical fallacies series. We're going to start with 3 different ones. We gave you 1 on the first, 2 on the second, 2 on the third, and tonight we're going to give you 3. Don't ask me why we did it like that. Just the way we did it.
There's no logic that goes.
There's no logic to this. We're just having fun with it. That's why.
Ring the bell, ding, ding.
Ding. That's right. But tonight we're going to cover 3 logical fallacies. The first one is middle ground. The second one is the no true Scotsman fallacy. And our third one is a loaded question. Let me preface these a little bit. The middle ground is you claim that a compromise or a middle point between 2 extremes, it must be the truth, basically. Johnny says that vaccines will cause autism in children. Somebody says, oh, no, that's not true because there's scientific evidence to show the fact that vaccinations do not cause autism. And then your third party or either one of the parties could say, okay, well, let's just say that some vaccines cause autism in children. That would be the middle ground. You're trying to find the middle between 2 extremes one way or the other. Now, the second one, tonight we're going to cover the no true Scotsman. Now, this is a fun one. I love this one. Where someone says, oh, they're not a true Christian. Oh, they're not a true Scotsman, because they say, well, they did A, B, or C, and that means that they're not a true whatever. You'll hear this with Christians a lot. Well, they're in jail. Well, that's because they're not true Christians. Well, that's that's not true. The example that's given here is, you made what could be called an appeal to purity as a way to dismiss relative criticism or flaws in your argument. So if you say, no true Scotsman likes honey in their porridge, and it says, I'm a Scotsman and I put honey in my porridge, well, then you can't be a true Scotsman. The third, of course, tonight is the loaded question. That's, you've been asked a question that had the presumption built into it so that you couldn't answer it without appearing guilty. So you've got two people say having a conversation, and you have a third person that's listening in, and you say, hey, I know you like so-and-so, but have you ever gotten over your drug habit yet? You've already presumed that the person has a drug problem, and without any evidence of that, doesn't have anything to do with it at all. We're going to start the time, and timer starts now. Connie, you go first.
Well, while moderation is preferable, it's not always true that it is beneficial with the middle ground. And a lot of times when you're talking with a Christian, they may try to soften it, because that's all about drawing you into accepting that, well, maybe God isn't all-powerful, or maybe God's not all-knowing, but, maybe God exists or he doesn't. But, it doesn't have to exist like this. They can distance themselves from perhaps more extreme groups, or more groups that they might see that are colder to them, not as on fire as they are. Mm-hmm. And I just, but halfway between the lie and the truth is still a lie.
Right.
And as far as I know, true Scotsman, I'm still not totally out to everybody as a Christian, but as a non-Christian, but I've been a part of a Christian group on Facebook, mm-hmm. and one of the first battles that I had was with some believer there who said, well, you were never a believer to begin with.
Oh, I love that one. I've heard that one too. It says, well, you didn't actually believe. How the hell do you know what I actually believed? That's right.
And I found myself, it was, and it was kind of, actually, it was no true Scotsman. It was almost like loaded questions, because I was finding myself defending the fact that I had to prove that I actually believed. And I found that really distasteful, because I'm going, I don't even believe this anymore. This is what led me to it. Yep. And having to go back, and I had to go back like 3 and 4 times with this person. Every time we got into a discussion, he said, yeah, well, you weren't really a Christian because you were just legalistic, or you were dogmatic, or you never believed in the first place because nobody can turn away from God. And finally, I just had to tell him, I said, look, I am not having this discussion with you anymore. If you ever bring it up again, just know that my ignoring you is not you winning this argument.
That's right.
Because I don't have to prove anything to you.
Right.
You don't get to judge me. And as far as the loaded question, that was kind of the hardest one to really pin down, except that it just winds up being a real derailer in an argument, and it's to elicit an emotional response, it's to throw you off balance. Like you said, it's when did you stop beating your wife?
Yeah, when did you stop beating? So when did you stop beating your wife?
It relies on innuendo,
right?
And the only way to really respond to this is to not respond, is to reject it and refuse to answer that question and rephrasing it. And oftentimes it can come in softly, like because it's a statement phrased superficially as a question. And I think this is the one I was wondering if that is what Ray Comfort is doing when he says, well, did you, have you ever lied? Well, you're a liar, but I don't know that that's really what that argument is. I had trouble sourcing that. So, talk about some actually
I think you're right
very effective fallacies to use to derail an argument. These are all 3 really good ones.
Yeah, I think you're right, Connie, that when he says that, did you ever lie? Well, yeah, everybody's lied at least once. So that means you're a liar, right? Yeah.
If
so that's
you're a liar. That
would definitely be a loaded question. What is your take in these, Dave?
Okay. No true Scotsman.
All right. Do you want to go with the middle crowd first, or you want to start with no true Scotsman?
I'm gonna start with no true Scotsman.
Okay, let's go for it.
Okay, no true Scotsman. There are 2 billion Christians. 2 billion.
Yep.
Christians. Right?
Yes.
Okay, so 2 billion divided by 38,000 denominations. then becomes 52,631.57.
Yes.
Or we can do the math based upon so 1.2 are Catholics, and therefore if you take Catholics and you subtract Catholics from Christians, we're gonna separate them really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And then it becomes 800 million people are Christians who are not Catholics.
Okay, and your point is what, Dave?
Divide that by 38,000 different denominations of Christianity, and you get 21,052.6. And here's what my point is that if you're going to talk about no true Scotsman, you have to talk about 21,052.6 different people who are either correct or incorrect.
Right.
No true Scotsman means that you're saying that you don't believe that anyone who doesn't believe what you believe is correct.
All right.
And so if you divide it that way, if you mathematically look at it, you now have approximately 20,000 people who are correct. And that's all that's correct.
Yes. And
those people are correct or incorrect based upon
Dave. We have 50 seconds left. Do you want to cover the one of the other two, please?
Sure.
Please, thank you. And don't throw a bunch of numbers in this because they're really not necessary.
No, I feel like the numbers are important, but whatever. All right.
Okay.
So middle ground
Right.
is averaging shit. If you average together, like I'm correct, you're correct, it doesn't make anyone correct. It just makes people find a middle ground between one or two opinions.
Right.
But it's never going to make someone right.
Right.
And
that's our time.
Ah, shit.
Yeah. All right. Well, these are all interesting fallacies, and if you would like to look these up, go to yourlogicalfallacyis.com. There'll be more there, and they get more into it. And some logical fallacies that are up on the Packard Pokes At channel. They have their own playlists. There's several up there right now. So go over there to youtube.com/Packard Pokes At. There'll be more as the weeks progress. Okay, let's get on to our next topic for this evening.
Fly me to the moon. Let me play among the stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars.
And on tonight's Did You Know They Were an Atheist? Tonight we are going to be covering Eric Idle. He is part of the Monty Python, which, if you've never seen Monty Python, you are missing out. Monty Python is a British comedy. It's from the 1970s. Very funny stuff. Born in 1943 in March, and he's a member of the British surreal comedy group Monty Python, as I mentioned, a member of the Ruttles on Saturday Night Live, and the author of the Broadway musical Spam-A-Lot. So, the only thing that's good about Spam is when they sing about spam on Monty Python. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go look it up. So anyway, he has a quote here on his own personal website from November 28th, 2011. He briefly mentions his atheism. He says, "And okay, it's not just my name. It's also my wife's name and my daughter's name and the name of Tasha Gothwaite, my dog child. I'm her," and in parentheses, "I'm her atheist grandfather. In Tasha's case, she is deeply sorry that she gave me the Passaic campus her real name and not tasshole gold twat. Only comedian's daughter would have anxiety about landing a joke on Mars. So, yeah. So he briefly mentions that he's an atheist on here, but he does say that he's an atheist. Dave, your thoughts?
The dude's awesome.
Yes. He's 70 years old. When I first saw these shows back in not until the late 80s, that, he was young and virile and everything like that. And I don't think of him as being 70 years old. I see him as, in my mind, still a young man, but I didn't realize he was 70 years old when I read this.
Yeah, he's an old man.
Yeah, he's an old man now.
He really is. It really doesn't matter. When he has debated people, including archbishops,
right?
I mean, he's had some extreme religious debates where he's defended his movies he's made and the points that he's made within those movies. He's been very direct with what he said, and clearly he's not only an atheist, he is an anti-theist.
Right.
He is very directly opposed to organized religion. He is very directly opposed to the ideas that people have that they pose, and they say, well, religion says this and that, and he's like, no, religion says this, and he very adamantly defends what he says.
Right. Connie, your thoughts?
It was so much fun to be able to look at his story, and I think that you pronounced that music group the Rootles because it's a take on the Beatles. The Rootles.
Rootles, okay.
It's a take on the Beatles. An old Saturday Night Live thing too. He evidently was on Saturday Night Live. He graduated from Cambridge University, and he was in the Footlight Club. And I thought, wait, that sounds familiar. I just had watched a big thing about Stephen Fry, and sure enough, that is this amazing acting, singing kind of a group. And they have Stephen Fry, Hugh Laurie, Emma Thompson, of course, many of the Monty Python players, Cook, Peter Cook, I think. So lots of very amazing alumni, very funny people come from there. And that's where he met Graham Chapman, John Cleese, and his first TV show was a children's TV show, Do Not Adjust Your Set.
I've heard of that one. I don't think I've ever seen it.
Yeah, and that's where he met Terry Jones and Michael Palin and Terry Gilliam, who also did the animations on the show, who did the animations for Monty Python. First time I ever saw Monty Python, I was in high school, and a friend said, oh, you want to watch this show? And we go over there, and we're watching this show, and there's nudity. I'm like, I couldn't believe it. It was just so weird and funny. And then one of my other friends said, oh, you should really see this movie, Monty Python and the Holy Grail. I hated it the first time I saw it. But then the next day I went home, and all I could do was laugh about it. And I thought, well, that's a weird recommendation for a movie. And so my then fiance, my ex-husband, we went and saw the movie, and it was just like, what did we just watch? But then we couldn't stop thinking about it. And I actually, when it came on TV when I was in college, memorized, sat down with a tape recorder, and recorded the audio, and I had that movie memorized at one point. Just so funny. Yes, and I loved him as Wreck-Gar in the 1986 movie, The Transformers. Oh. And I'm racking my brain to remember what it is, the greeting that they give, and I'm please, my sons, forgive me for not remembering that, because I know it.
He was also
something,
Well, he also made some appearances as a voice actor on The Simpsons as well.
He has.
Declan Desmond. I wonder if that Declan Desmond. I wonder if that's they changed the letters around to make it mean something else. Yeah.
Well, that was what he was really known for too, was language, plays with language and communication. Where the most of the jokes that he did, he has an asteroid named after him.
Oh, does he?
9620 Eric Idle.
Oh, that's cool.
So yeah, he's. And he has another play coming out besides Spamalot. I think it's based on. I can't remember if it's based on the life of Brian or if it's based on. It's
based on the Holy Grail.
Spamalot's the Holy Grail, but he has another stage play or stage presentation like Spamalot that is based on. It's either Life of Brian or it was. The Meaning of Life. I'm sorry
not
that I
sure.
can't remember off the top of my head which it was.
I'm not sure either. I don't see it here.
It was. I just noticed it. So, yeah. I even saw him in that movie Casper. He was funny.
Oh, that's cool.
He's a funny guy.
Yes. Yeah. So if you get a chance to get out there and see these movies and look for Eric Idle, he's a quite funny man. And yes, he is an atheist. Okay, that's it for us tonight. Before we go, if you would like to make a donation to the show, there's a link right here below to patreon.com/PackardPokesAt. If you donate $50, you get a free hat. If you donate $100, you get a free t-shirt. And if you donate $200, you get a free sweatshirt. And that helps keep the show running and, keep the lights on around here. But into the meantime, if you want to get in contact with us, we'll tell you how to do that right now.
Would you like to contact us? Your host, Packard Sonic, and his very honored and crazy co-hosts, with occasional guest hosts, enjoy your comments or suggestions. You can reach us 28 hours a day, 8 days a week on A Can on a String, Smoke Signals, Star Trek Communicator? Those may not work, but you can contact us on Twitter as Packard Pokes At, and by email at packardpokesat@gmail.com. You can also listen and join in the conversation live Friday nights at 9 p.m. Central Time on vonlive.tv/PackardPokesAt. You can find past shows on iTunes, YouTube, Mixler Radio, and Stitcher Radio. Help us out by rating, commenting, subscribing, retweeting, and reposting the show wherever you can. Click the like button on Facebook/PackardPokesAt to join in the conversation. Would you like to help keep the show running and pick up some awesome Packard Pokes At merchandise? Visit cafepress.com/PackardPokesAt today and buy hats, shirts, or one of over 300 other items that are also available. Visit packardpokesat.wordpress.com for links to the news articles covered tonight and more information on this or other episodes. We hope you enjoy the show. Thanks for listening and your support.
And thank you. Even though Joe's not here, he still does a wonderful job. He just happens to break in and does it. We want to thank everybody for coming, and we did have a little bit of a difficulty with the Von Live servers. Apparently they had a little glitch tonight, but it was one of those rare events and on a busiest night. But I do appreciate everybody coming anyway, and Von Live for finally getting their server fixed so we can get on the air. But anyway, thanks everybody for coming. This has been Packard Pokes At. We just poked at your news.
And that's a wrap.